5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
All right, welcome to another installment of the Fragments Silicon Reviews. We've got two reviews up this week. First up is Mary Skelter Nightmares. The I don't even know how many Idea Factory and Compile Heart games we've reviewed at this point. I just know we've reviewed a lot of them.
I'm pretty sure we're in double digits at least.
Yeah.
Once again, it's possible. Um, because we keep getting games either from Idea Factory themselves or from Ghostlight. Like,
who is again the one who localized this and has a regular habit of localizing their games.
Right. Admittedly, it's kind of weird since Idea Factory does that on their own. Maybe we'll get some more insight.
Well, it still takes man hours to do that.
Is still weird, especially since sometimes Ghostlight does the porting for Idea Factory, like that Fairy Fencer game they did. But like technically, like Laughing Jackal, like that's the port house section of Ghostlight that what does all the actual game coding, like both the stuff they bring to the PC and their original games, which sadly they don't do as much anymore. But anyway, getting back on track here, Mary Skelter Nightmares is a recently released PC port of a PlayStation Vita game, and given to us by, I hesitate to use the word scourge of this show, but we, in all fairness, we have reviewed a lot of Idea Factory and Compile Heart games, and we have found many of them to not be good for various reasons.
So this one is significantly different from all of the Neptunia-like ones, of which we've reviewed like 3 or 4, I think.
Yeah, I'm like maybe more. This one is more in the style of Etrian Odyssey.
Yeah, you don't see a lot of top-down first-person adventure games these days, or first-person dungeon crawlers these days.
And I will say this is less likely to get us sent to jail, unlike their other one.
Yeah, like Shin Megami Tensei Strange Journey was mostly like that, I think. But and the older Shin Megami Tensei games were like that, but the later ones were ironically kind of more like the Neptunia ones.
Right.
Although the battle system was still similar to this.
Yeah, the last time we reviewed one of these, it was like Morio Chronicles, if I'm remembering the name right.
Yeah, Morio or whatever.
Yeah, it's like
the one that probably got us on an FBI watch list.
Yeah, I'm like, yeah, that game was just, its aesthetics were rough.
Its aesthetic, the plot.
Not in that they were not polished, but in that they were potentially almost criminal.
Yeah, it's like, like it was not.
We had fun with that one, in a different side. No, I was gonna say in a different type of way.
Yeah, we had fun talking about that one.
Yeah. Anyway, as far as Mary Skelter, it's in that style, but its aesthetics are much toned down from ultra creepy Mo aesthetic.
Yeah, stop me if you've heard this one. It's got characters that are from like fairy tales and nursery rhymes, but it's dark and violent and creepy.
I'm like, you don't say.
I didn't know we were talking about Alice Madness Returns.
Yeah, I'm like, well, here's the thing, like fairy tales, were originally dark.
Oh yeah, look at the
Yeah.
actual Brothers Grimm shit. Oh my god.
Well, and the Brothers Grimm had already toned down the sex in a lot of the classic ones.
Yeah.
Theirs is the version of Sleeping Beauty that makes it a kiss that wakes her up instead of, oops, I got pregnant while I was asleep because a prince visited.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah. So you'll see familiar faces like Jack and Alice and Red Riding Hood. And you have to escape from a tower full of nightmares.
Well, more a jail full of nightmares.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess, and it's an inverted tower. It is a tower that goes down into the ground mostly, I think.
I'm like, no, I think it's a regular tower. They talk about how tall it is. Like, I don't know. I don't remember offhand. Not really important. The thing is, yeah, you are Jack, just Jack. I'm not sure which Jack we're talking about.
Mostly Beanstalk.
Probably
Jack the Giant
It
Slayer.
is. There's hints towards that.
I'm just, there's also Jack Be Nimble and Jack Frost and other Atlas mascots.
Yeah, Jack back in the old days was kind of the generic dude name.
Yeah, I know. Also John and what have you, and his name matches his personality, bland as fuck. Yeah.
Well, he's basically supposed to be your insert here.
I'm like, yeah. Mind you, he doesn't do any of the fighting. Like, his job is to serve as either the meat shield or the
item dispenser,
the hander of items, or later on, he is the one who cools down corruption. That's another Idea Factory hallmark. It'll introduce a shitload of systems gradually throughout the game. I don't know. I probably did not see all of them because, full disclosure, I only got about 7 hours into the game before I hit a impassable crash point. I got to a cutscene, it crashed, and crashed. Nothing I could do would fix it.
I guess something of note with a lot of Idea Factory games, they have problems with Intel graphics.
Yes.
Yeah.
At least I could play this game, unlike the Sorcery Saga, which just did not, like, that has a problem with my Intel HD graphics card here. And Ghostlight is aware of that. They don't know how to fix that yet. Well, it'll probably come up in the interview. We're gonna have Ross on the show in a few weeks, so hopefully we get some information on that thing. But yeah, as far as its mechanics and all that stuff, it's it's an RPG. It does RPG things. Its big hook is the whole blood mechanic. That is to say, like, every so often you'll get a blood spatter, like with blood out of Danganronpa. It's the Pepto-Bismol blood. Like,
I think that's I think sometimes you do get blood from like humans, and it's more realistic. But yeah, the monsters have like bright pink blood.
Yeah. Point of order is that'll increase your blood meter, or the Blood Maiden's blood meter, and you can either have those powered up, and they'll go into a massacre mode, I think that they called it, which is basically allows you access to powers you normally can't do.
Super mode.
Yeah, I want to say, I'm trying to think if they hit harder or have more defense.
I think basic attack is harder.
Yeah.
Massacre and Blood Skelter, I think, are two separate super modes.
Right. I'm like, and you can also lick the blood. Yeah, this thing isn't completely devoid of off-kilter fetish work.
Yeah, but at least most of
Indeed.
the girls look like they're at least teenagers.
Right. I mean, still hitting the moe aesthetic pretty hard, but not as hard as Murillo or anything like that, or even Mugen Souls for that matter. Like, but yeah, they can lick the blood to heal themselves, like, or they get other powers, from what I remember. Like,
Yeah, they sometimes get buffs.
yeah, it's like it depends on the girl, I think.
Yeah.
And yeah, as far as the dungeons themselves, they are surprisingly not randomly generated. Like,
So pull out your grid paper, boys and girls.
Yeah.
You do have a self-made mini-map that, well, it depends on difficulty. In normal difficulty, and you can change difficulty at any time, pretty much. In normal difficulty, your mini-map is there except for when you run into a nightmare, which is a specific type of hazard monster thingy. In easy mode, it's always there, which is called dream mode. And in horror mode, I think it's never there, and you have to do it yourself. I didn't do that difficulty, so I can't say for sure.
Anyway, yeah, you do have the option to have things kept track for you, because we're not in the goddamn 1980s anymore. I just do not get that fucking nostalgia at all.
I don't either.
I'm like, making like the romanticism of making your own maps. Motherfucker, we did that because we had to.
Yeah, well, it also to some extent it's part of the whole deal with a top-down thing. It's easy for me personally to get lost in first-person games without a mini-map, so it's good that they without a map, so it's good that they make one. But yeah, that's probably not the best way of doing difficulty. Just having you have to. I mean, there are other things too. In hard mode, you get more money and experience, and in easy mode, you get less. But again, you can change difficulty when you want to. So.
And it's worth noting that this game, unsurprisingly, all of your actual combatants are all cute girls.
Because it's Idea Factory.
Well, yeah, it's like, this is like the least surprising thing ever.
Also, there are frankly more interesting female characters in fairy tales and stuff than there are male ones. And half the male ones are just named Jack.
I'm like, yeah. And also, unsurprisingly, you can you have affection levels with each of them, which you can upgrade, with various giftings and stuff like that. I think conversations as well. Like, it's common, social link stuff.
Though it doesn't go further than like romantic hints. It's not. There's no actual
There's no love ending.
Yeah, there's no consummation of relationships or anything, and I don't think we can even actually specifically choose one.
Yeah, the sexuality has been dialed back. It still exists to an extent, but it's not. It's not like a lot of other Idea Factory games.
It's not Melero.
Yeah, or really like Mugen Souls could get pretty raunchy there itself.
Specifically, the original one. 2 toned it down a bit.
Yeah.
Or Z.
Is somebody's cat playing the microphone?
Sorry, I had my microphone off my ear for a second. I was itchy.
Yeah. Anyway, the nightmares. So these are the invincible dungeon monsters that you have to run away from.
There are also non-nightmare monsters, which I think are called Märchen.
Yeah, Märchen.
German for fairy tale.
I'm like, but the nightmares are your primary challenge, because they're not as invincible as they're first purported to be. In fact, that's kind of like some of the early plot revelations. You know,
Yeah.
If it bleeds, we can kill it.
That's a good mantra for this game.
Yeah.
It really, it really tripled down on the whole blood gimmick. Like, granted, it's blood that looks like Pepto-Bismol, but
something age ratings.
I'm like, possibly because I think it's more trend. Like, it's more Dang on Ronpod did this, so we should do this.
Makes sense.
It could be another reason. Like, it could be. I'm like, granted, this seems like the kind of game that would get rated M anyway for sexuality.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I'm like.
And again, things that bleed pink are decidedly not human, so.
Mm-hmm. Like, I'm not sure what rating it got on the Vita. Let me look that up.
Oh, this is another Vita game?
Yep.
Yeah, like, I don't think Idea Factory has ever, like, they don't do native PC games. Like, they're, they do console and handheld games, and then they get ported over to the, PC. So, and yeah, this was a Vita game. Not surprising because niche anime games like this have been the bread and butter for Vita for years, and unsurprisingly, Mary Skelter Nightmares is rated M for blood, partial nudity, sexual themes, and violence.
Well, we kind of just saw the partial nudity.
I think in one of the super modes, I think the clothes come completely off, but they're still wearing like sensor energy.
Basically,
well,
yeah.
Here's the ESRB rating summary. This is a role-playing game in which players assume the roles of a young man and woman, really should be women, trying to destroy an infernal dungeon. As players explore dungeon/jail-like environments, they battle fantastical enemies, ghosts, demons, skeletons, samurai. In turn-based combat, battles are highlighted by impact sounds, cries of pain, and splatters of pink blood. The game includes a mini-game in which players rub blood off of female characters' bodies. There we go.
That explains it.
Yeah. I was getting ready to mention that a little bit later.
Oh, thanks.
Like I said, this is still toned down from. Like, I'll note, they didn't have to remove this one.
Yep.
Like, they had to remove that mini game from some other Mugen Souls games because. Yeah, because too underage for the West.
Yeah, like I don't even think they mention specifically Alice and Jack's ages.
No, but they look older.
Yeah. Like if you told me Alice was
actually old.
If you told me Alice was 18, I'd probably buy that.
Yeah. Characters' reaction to the rubbing mechanic include suggestive moaning, body parts that jiggle, and outfits that become transparent.
Yep.
Yeah, revealing breasts covered by pasties. This game includes other brief images of partially nude characters with strips of fabric covering their nipples and genitalia. Like, so there you go. That's how racy this game is. And once again, this is toned down for Idea Factory and Compile Hard.
Yeah.
Like, mind you, I don't think Morio was more sexual than this, but that was just cranking up the moe fetish to 11. It's in the.
There were some dialogue between the characters in Melero that was.
Yeah, whereas this game is still relatively action and drama focused as opposed to just being moe.
Well, and again, if you told me Alice was 18, I'd buy that.
Yeah, or the other girls as well. Yeah.
Yeah, Red Riding Hood or whatever.
Yeah.
Like,
so
the only one who I think might be under 18 is probably Jack.
Possibly.
He looks a little young, but other than that, like especially the girls, you could definitely pass them for over 18.
I mean, Thumbelina's tiny, but she's also Thumbelina.
Yeah.
So even if she's not literally the size of your thumb, she's like small.
Well, and I imagine.
Honestly, she kind of looks like Nanaha, only pinker.
Well, and I think from what I've seen, she also doesn't talk like a child, like somebody in that typical kind of like fashion would. She still talks like an adult.
Mm-hmm. Anyway, yeah. The game has some pretty typical shop mechanics and upgrade. You get blood crystals, upgrade your weapons. It's all pretty typical RPG fare. In fact, that's kind of how I categorize the game outside of its aesthetical values. It's pretty typical. It's not bad, but I wouldn't say it was amazing either. Like, in terms of like mechanics.
Like, yeah, this is another one that I kind of wish I'd rather be playing on something like the Switch. Something where I can just kind of pick it up and put it down.
Or the Vita.
Yeah, once again, this is literally designed for the Vita.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
But you know what I mean, right?
Yeah, even if the dungeons aren't random, it's still a dungeon crawler, which is a kind of game that's good to pick up for a while. And
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I have half an hour waiting for the bus. Let me go through a dungeon real quick.
Yeah, I don't know how complicated, or go through a floor. I don't know how complicated character builds are in this, but I don't imagine it's super complicated.
Not very complicated.
Yeah, it didn't seem like it.
So it's not like you have a ton of, crap, I can't remember what I was going to put X, Y into when I next leveled up.
Yeah. And there are a lot of dungeon gimmicks. Like there are switches you can pull, and then there are tight ropes you can walk over, and you have to keep balanced. It's honestly kind of stupid.
Yeah. And there's various hazards as well.
Yeah. Which is more expectant of a dungeon, spiked walls and guillotines, that what have you do. Like, let's see. DLC. This game does have some built-in DLC. Nothing too extravagant. Some extra job classes. That you can have.
It's not like you automatically get the Excalibur 2 and level 20 Paladin pack that you basically got in some of the Mugen Souls stuff.
Yeah, no, we've come a long way from like Argarist War and Mugen Souls in terms of DLC. Like,
I forgot Argarist Wars was the thing.
Yeah, and that I think those are like among the first Idea Factory Ghost-like collaborations.
I would not be shocked.
Neither would I.
Let's see. The music. Honestly, I got tired of the music pretty quickly, so I turned it off and, listened to other things while I played.
It's grim dungeon music mostly, right?
Yeah.
I'm not saying that's bad. It's just, with an RPG.
I mean, it fits the atmosphere the game is going for, but if you want brooding reminders that you're in a place that is extremely unpleasant.
Right. Like, the voice acting is decent.
Mm-hmm.
Once again, nothing too particular to say, except if I'm recalling correctly, like there is like voice acting in all the major scenes. Though do be warned, this game is very visual novel oriented in terms of its cutscenes, which is another Idea Factory hallmark.
The voice acting is fully dubbed into English, at least. Is there a Japanese option? I didn't check.
There he is.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anyway, so none of this inconsistent, which is really becoming a problem in the JRPG world. Like, there have been some big RPGs that have pulled this shit off. I'm looking at you, Ni no Kuni 2, and you, Octopath Traveler. These are RPGs from much bigger studios, they can fund the fucking voice acting. Like,
Mm-hmm.
you know, just a bit head shaking there. Anyway, pricing. Mary Skelter Nightmares is gonna run you $20.
I guess that's reasonable.
Yeah, if you're really into this kind of game, it's a better choice than Moiro.
Yeah.
There's a good
Oh
chunk
no!
of game.
Sorry, I've quoted the wrong price. It's $24.99. Which is, yeah,
It's not bad.
If it didn't come with the DLC stuff, even as minute as it is, I would say that'd be a bit much. But since it has it,
yeah. Surprisingly, there is no DLC packs. There's not even a option to buy the soundtrack.
That's
It's a bit odd. Like, maybe those are forthcoming. I don't know.
Or maybe they're like available elsewhere. Like some places post their soundtracks on like Spotify or Bandcamp
or sometimes they're built in and they don't tell you.
Yeah.
Like, overall, I'd say this game is a bit above average.
Mm-hmm.
I'd say it's probably like the second best Idea Factory game we've had. I still like Fairy Fencer a bit more.
Fair enough. Like,
but that's more personal preference thing. I'm not been a big fan of the first-person dungeon crawler.
Yeah, it's definitely a genre that requires. It's a genre that's kind of an acquired taste.
It is.
I could recommend this, provided you're not turned off from the aesthetics and everything.
Yeah.
Like, if you're looking something a bit more hard-nosed, I'd suggest something like The Legend of Grimrock, or even like Ghostlight's own LMH Gothic for your first-person dungeon crawler needs. But this is certainly a decent one of those. All right. Any final words on Mary Skelter here?
It's a pretty alright game.
Yeah, it's a fun first-person dungeon crawler as long as you're not turned off by the Moe and fan service.
I would still prefer it on a more portable setting as opposed to PC, but that's just me.
I agree with that.
Well, what you do there is you go and buy a Vita.
Yeah,
and
but
go buy the Vita version of this game.
yeah, and good luck finding a reasonable Vita nowadays.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that option exists. Anyway, that'll about do it for this review. Be sure to tune in after the break as we review A Right from the Stars.